Earlier this week, Bungie published an article on Buildcrafting Evolved, which had a lot of exciting changes to mods and the loadout system. Something that caught my eye is the changes to how we will be able to approach or stun champions starting Lightfall. To quickly go over that if you didn't read the article, anti-champion options will no longer be limited to intrinsic anti-champion weapons or artifact mods. Instead, we'll get anti-champion options to our subclasses on top of the weapons and artifact mods. For barrier champions, Radiant, Volatile, and the Strand Counter will receive the ability to pierce the barrier. For Overload champions, Jolt, Slow, and Suppression will receive the ability to stun Overload champs. For Unstoppable champions, Blinding, Stasis Freeze into Shatter, Solar Ignition, and the Strand Counter will stun Unstoppable champions. If Stasis Slow can stun Overload champions, and Freeze into Shatter can stun Unstoppable champions, it may just be the ultimate element to counter all three types of champions. Certain Stasis weapons can roll with the perk Choke Clip, which provides slow stacks on the top half of the weapon's magazine. Taking the Riptide for example, first shot will slow the enemy, which will be able to stun Overload champions. Second shot will freeze the enemy, which if we shatter that freeze, Unstoppable champions will be stunned. For barrier champions, we can keep them frozen with stasis to prevent them from ever popping out of the barrier. I also thought of the Lingering Dread. It can roll with blinding grenades and choke clip. Choke clip on a grenade launcher isn't as easy to freeze enemies as the Riptide, which makes it more difficult to stun unstoppable champions. But that's where blinding grenades comes in handy. Blinding an unstoppable champion instantly stuns them. Furthermore, blinding grenades are extremely useful in high-end PvE to stop minor and major enemies from attacking you. One thing that I have to point out is that those are based on the assumption of buffs and debuffs from a subclass will act the same as from weapons or armors. What was stated in the article is anti-champion options are added to our subclasses, which may or may not work with weapons, like blinding grenades versus blinding from arc subclasses. I do still think that many will work even without being applied directly from our subclasses, like Radiant from Rain of Fire or Void debuffs from Collective Obligation. I would still go out of my way to farm a good Riptide and Lingering Dread though, as they both are amazing weapons even without the ability to stun champions.